basic formula is that knowledge and experience and introspection combined together gives rise to wisdom, especially when we become conscious of consciousness itself. So if we all have our definitions correct, how do you define, or how would you define consciousness?
That's a great question, Kathy. Very simple answer. What isn't consciousness? Everything you think, everything you feel, everything you believe becomes, right? I want to make a chair, I need it to be this light colored, I need to have this car, I need to renovate, I need to have my hair this certain way, I need love in my life, I need to have my business be more successful, I want to create a human being. Everything, even beyond our wildest dreams, comes into form from consciousness. And so therefore, especially as we're all made of the same materials as the highest star in the galaxy that we're connected to, that we all share. It's a unified flow of information, a unified flow of energy, a unified flow of being, of coming into being. So that's my answer.
So this is sort of interesting. You've got a kind of a great career. You catalyzed your decision to leave the modeling world and become involved in the society. How did you juxtapose those two? That's pretty interesting, I think.
Well, it's interesting because about 20 years ago, my career has been on television as an actress and as a model and a voiceover artist, and raising my kids, and I felt a very purposeful work moving through me. And at the time, I didn't even really know exactly what it was, although I was, at the time, still designing educational programs to really catalyze human potential, but on a smaller scale. And I was producing behind the camera.
So tell my guest a little bit about the society that you've been involved with and who's working with you in this side. You've got a pretty good stable of scientists and neuroscientists and all kinds of people. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's called the Society for Mind-Brain Sciences. And it was founded when I presented at a science conference about 5 years ago. I was researching sexuality and consciousness at the time. And I presented at this conference on how to think. Because most of our education, if not all of our education, is about what to think, what to do, what to think, and the results-oriented process of our educational systems. And I've, for as long as I can recall, have always been interested in how to think. And then our conscious and subjective experiences are key to involve in our education for everyone else coming up in the systems. And how do we adjust that without dismantling the system? Because we're not going to dismantle the systems in this lifetime. That's okay, but what can we provide as alternatives? Well, how can we provide this when every single system is incredibly distanced, it's disparate, and it's fractured?
And by systems you mean?
Education, science, medicine, clinical, even the consciousness transformation systems themselves are disconnected from our body, from our flesh and blood experience, right? So how do we integrate these systems? And so the society came as a nugget of an idea after my first science presentation with some of the foremost scientists in the world. Like, what the hell was I doing there? So we led a meeting the next morning and started to brainstorm of how we can do so and still protect their credibility, because they work in a system that is dependent upon their credibility with grants and evidence-based science. And so we came up with some ideas, and then we started to work together. Neuroscientists from some of the top institutes, the Neurosciences Institute right here in La Jolla for many years, as well as NYU, Columbia, Irvine, different universities and institutes around the world. And we've just been collaborating and refining it as we go. And even our law firm is K&L Gates of Gates Senior. And they got on board because they have an interest in consciousness science and seeing it become a part of education, which is important.
So take a moment and think of our guests and what they've come through this week with this glorious week of transformation into themselves. You know, give them a gift of what would be the 3 things that you've had all these meetings and conferences. Is there 3 pieces of knowledge, I always call them golden nuggets, that maybe our guests could take home that you could give them? you've got all these sciences. What are the three pieces of consciousness or science or brains that you're involved? I mean, we're going to get to meditation in a little bit. What is it that they're talking about? What's the conversation that these guys need to know?
To be mindful of our interdependent, interconnected biological systems as a part of our spiritual systems. There is no disconnect. And in so much as that the thought and emotion are inseparable. Not brain without body, not body without thought. And thought with mindfulness as an observer, a neutral observer, creates a whole distinctly different quality of experience in your lives and with those in your life. And so everything that you're doing here and the interconnectivity of your intimate experience with one another and with all of the staff and with the manager and the creator of this experience, it's all selected for this unified flow of experience so that this quality continues and sustains in your daily lives. And that can happen if we're aware of this, of how to think, how to process our thoughts, and how important all of this is.
So when we leave here, though, you know what's going to happen. We're going to get back on our phones and our internet technology
Espresso.
And our coffee.
Yeah.
So how will the new media and internet technology affect consciousness? Because don't you feel, and just as great as that all sounds here, because you're kind of like in our incubator, and we're protecting you for these 7 days, how can we remember that when we go back out in that world that's becoming faster and more technology driven every day, which seems far from consciousness?
It does. It can be very interconnected. It can connect you to...
What impact does that have?
Well, think of it this way. Who has had an herbal wrap in here? Has everyone had an herbal wrap where they wrap you in this really delicious cocoon womb of heat and aroma, just in the dark? It's so lovely. Now, if you were in the womb, you'd be in a fetal position, correct? So you'd be kind of like this. Well, when you go back to your lives, remember that every time you curl around a device, that you're in the womb and you're forming patterns. Not only brain, but your whole body is interconnected. Remember, your biological systems feed on everything that you do, every environment that you're in. Ping, chemical addiction, ping, endorphins, ping, dopamine, reward, ping. Think of a little rat, in a cage, in a maze, in a lab that is doing some tests, and they're giving a little treat. And every time that they hit the right lever, they get a treat, treat. And so our systems, our technological systems, are really vastly improving a lot of our lives and our medical technologies, scientific technologies, and aerospace, et cetera, et cetera. Yet, personally, it's divisive in that it really entrains you. And so to create a neutral observing perspective is really, really healthy for all of us on all levels, because look at what my body's doing. And wait, I probably have a phone in my thing, and then you're going like this. Look at my body. You see how it's constricting? Now, what would it take to unfold it? And I'm walking around, and now I'm on the computer. Hey, hold on a second. Ping, 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 ping. Deadline, 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 deadline. My kids, my husband. So imagine your body. We talk about our body constricting a lot. This is how we are from the womb to tomb, because we're conditioned inside of our familial environments as well, from within our systems. There's no disconnect. We're connected to our mother and everything that she's doing. And so our nervous systems, our consciousness itself, is starting to form patterns inside the womb and outside when we're vulnerable and we can't take care of ourselves. It's already it's on an automatic pilot already. So to be mindful of that in our daily systems with technology is to unfurl, to get in touch with your awareness, the consciousness of your flesh and blood diary that you walk around in. This is your home. This is a chair. This is your home. These are walls. This is your home.
Take care of that home.
How you talk to it, how you move in it, how you how you interact and who you interact with, and how you appreciate this home. So unfurl and watch that, because it'll change how you interact with it, and then you can use it for your benefit as opposed to having it stress you out all the time.
You know, I'm gonna take that consciousness kind of conversations to another place, which is meditation. A lot of conversation today about meditation, about how it's improving mind health. Even scientists changing their opinions of what research is saying about meditation. Let's start to talk a little bit about that from your perspective.
I work with some of the most incredible scientists that study advanced meditators, Buddhist monks, inside fMRI machines. And they're part of my scientific advisory board, and I study with them at NYU. They're really amazing folks, because everything we do creates matter, right? If you work a muscle, what do you get? Toned, right? Or abs, whatever it is. So if we're meditating, we're actually building a really important part of our body called our insula. Our insular cortex is, let's call it the hub of empathy. So do we like to be treated well, with kindness, to be heard and listened to, and to have that reciprocity with someone else? We're received more openly, and we get what we want when we are empathizing with another as opposed to controlling a situation. We can read others better when we learn to develop these qualities in ourselves. And it goes beyond meditation as well. It goes beyond meditation to actually getting in touch with the raw materials of your own body.
How often do you meditate?
I meditate every day. And I'd say even beyond the beautiful meditation that Nancy took me through the first day, she was wonderful. Was it Nancy?
I'm not sure.
No, it was Cindy.
Yeah,
Cindy and I did a beautiful meditation.
Yeah.
It was great.
How many guests in our audience meditate? And do you meditate daily? It's important. It's a whole new conversation, meditation. I'm going to read you something very interesting.
Just really quick, meditation is everything that you do. Movement is meditation. If you apply the quality of this, not forgoing thought, but to be thoughtful. And so moving and being in your body and working out, even sipping tea, speaking with a friend, all of that is meditation if you're mindful and observant of the quality of your thought.
And listening. So here's an interesting conversation. There's been a lot of news about how athletes and military special forces use meditation to improve mental toughness. In your opinion, how does meditation improve mental toughness? And what practices are they going to, is that a different practice from the typical practice that we understand as meditation?
That's a great, I'm so glad you brought that up. Kinesthetic imagery, mental rehearsal. How many of you play tennis or some sport? How many of you in your mind choreograph your serve and over and over and over? Anybody else do any other kind of sport where you're actually mentally rehearsing something that you want to, dancing, so you know that you're actually really developing your interoceptive maps, your internal maps, and the action reaction of your body, your response timing, the grid of the world, the matrix of the world, and how you respond in it, right? So everything can be, that can be applied to everything. So it's even more pronounced on deep, real matter levels than mantras, than positive thinking. That's really cool. But kinesthetic imagery, like Michael Jordan, why is he the best player of all time? Because he does it all the time, and you all get better when you do that, and you sleep on it, right? So everything that you're doing thoughtfully is building those maps, those different areas inside of your brain that actually employ this deeper knowledge, and it engages your motor cortex, which is the most effective way to master anything.
Have they found, you know, with all of this science work going around meditation, about it solving and improving illness?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You know, there's a lot of science and a lot of work going on consciousness and about meditation. But how does that affect if a person wants to use meditation to improve on illness? Is it possible?
Yes. Many illnesses, many maladies.
Is that a quieter meditation than the military guy? Is there a way to see the difference in that kind of meditation? Because I think the meditation is something that's going to be talked about a lot coming up in this frenetic world. Because
well, I will say
we have to get quieter.
I will say that it's not. I will say that I believe that it's more than just being quiet. It's actually recognizing your power and really becoming intimate and familiar with your own flesh and blood diary. I talk about it in my book, and I take you on a guided, hands-on, unique tour from the inside out. I study anatomy in dissection labs for hundreds of hours to reveal the interconnectivity and the beauty within our human form, our bodies. It's revelatory. And so beyond meditation, you can also meditate with touch. It's imperative because we all crave feeling good. We all crave pleasure or intimacy. Yet to receive it, we have to experience it ourselves. And we're so relegated to touching certain parts only, as that is important. And so for illness, we go to doctors because we're stressed and we feel sick and we feel like crap, because we're constricting our blood flow, we're constricting and cutting off all of our energy and our information systems and our nurturing nutrients in our body that need to flow. And so we go in and they tell us, okay, to think this way, do this, and then you will start to feel better. Well, you do start to feel better right away, and that's a panacea a lot of times, because you're actually doing something for yourself. You're going there, you're talking, you're coming home, I'm gonna feel better, I'm gonna take this. See my body start to open up. Yet, with meditation and with a hands-on physical understanding and knowledge and familiarity, meditation every day, or a little bit a day, even a tiny bit in the shower or something. If you're meditating and you don't feel like you have 10 minutes, you can meditate mindfully like she's talking about, really beautifully in the shower, on the toilet. It doesn't matter where you are.
So how would they do that?
Okay, give me a place where you generally don't meditate, but you have to do on a daily basis for 5 minutes.
How about a car? How about a car?
How about a car?
Can you do it in the car?
Yeah, does anybody ever turn off their music and just listen to the hum?
Of the engine.
So you're on automatic pilot generally, but we're usually going through past events, or we're future forecasting how we're going to respond 3 or 4 different ways to what's ahead of us, right? Okay, so imagine those thoughts continue, but you put little white fluffy socks on those thoughts that seem to nag you, the critical editor inside of you. Like, imagine it's the Queen Mary deck. So if you had white fluffy socks on the Queen Mary deck, wouldn't you slide like a mother? I mean, just like go zooming, right? And some other people could say, well, maybe you see it as a floating leaf on the pond, which is really lovely. Whatever it is that gives you a rise, arousal is power, gives you a rise of joy for these thoughts that are nagging, allow for that. That's imagery. That's allowing you to really say hello to your ego. Because when you recognize your ego, your controlling, important do self, it kind of goes, wait a minute.
Okay,
you
so
can
how do
see
we do
me.
that in the car?
So to do it in the car, turn off the music, just rest your hands, or wherever you drive. Make sure that you squish down your sits bones. Find a comfortable position. You don't have to recline, but find a comfortable position. Nice safety. Relax your foot. Breathe. How we're breathing. Remember, golden door, just bring yourself here. Bring yourself to the golden door in a moment where you are able to just respond to your breath. That's all. And as those thoughts fly by, maybe they've got, I don't know, funny sweatpants on them, or whatever. But just allow that. 3 minutes is big. It takes 15 to 45 seconds to actually start to create a change, but in a few minutes to actually, over the course of a couple of weeks, let's say 14 days, to actually start to master something, to actually start to see not only viable change that you feel in your thought or your emotional health or your responses, but in your brain, in your whole biological system. Because if you're starting to improve the quality of your brain matter, of how your brain responds, and grow certain really key areas in your brain and let go of old neural patterns, you're actually going to have better digestion, a freer heart, wider, deeper, more expansive breath, more pleasure in your entire body. Food will taste better, and you'll feel better. You'll sleep better. So let's do it in the car, and you'll be here at the Golden Door, right here in the room with us, or maybe with your favorite practitioner here, or maybe in the yoga room.
So is it different for men or women?
No.
It's exactly
Gender's
the same.
overrated.
Right? It's the same.
Of course.
Pleasure is the same for each, and the ability to relax and overcome and meditate is the same.
Well, somebody said today that men do their legs in squares, and women can do their legs in circles when we use the
I see some nods out there.
It was in yoga today, so I don't know, maybe
that's
I don't know. I don't think so.
You think it's the same, huh?
Yeah.
What are the challenges today for sciences that scientists need to consider in studying the effects of meditation on the brain? Are there some?
Would you repeat that, please?
What are the challenges of the scientists
Well, because
with studying meditation in the brain?
it's subjective, and even though our experiences are everything in our life, science is still very evidence-based. And it's just now starting to crack a shell a little bit about the subjective experiences, and consciousness science just now starting to regain a little bit of the renaissance that it had many years ago. But the problems are that it's considered a soft science, that subjective experiences really don't have anything to do with the results of the science experiment. Well, how can it not? We're a human being having an experience while we're actually doing the research. And so it is just now, in the last handful or some 10 years, starting to really have a resurgence. But we've got a long way to go. Our consciousness and the quality of our experience is still not considered science, not quite yet, and meditation as well.
Well, it sounds like that's why you're
Contemplative
working,
science.
Well, I want to go back to one more question, and my last question, and I want to make sure that my guests walk away with something. And I think you nailed it, but I want to nail it one more time for them, because one of the biggest things I always hear when the guests leave the Golden Door is, they're holding on to that stair as you go through that gate and it's broken and you're holding on to the sides and I don't want to go past that creek. What can what can these wonderful guests take with them that's really solid? How long does it take for someone to see results? They're going to be super relaxed here. We meditate here. We're walking here. We're going on meditation hikes. We do all these incredible things. But when you leave here, it's really important that they stay healthy until we can get them back. What is it that they can take with them that would be change agent? What's a game changer for them tonight?
You see, that I'm going to give two answers.
Okay.
The first answer is that I've heard many of you say that your saving moment, your graceful moment in your hectic, driven lives is being here at the Golden Door. That you'll just be here in some aspect of the Golden Door when it gets really frenetic for you. That's a meditation in itself. So that was really lovely to hear. And many of you have been here so many times, and it's so great that even while you're here, you're still, having a whole new experience. So A, the meditation and remembering, and B, see this stroking? I'm just touching myself, right? I will have to say that all of you have had really intimate experiences being touched, haven't you? You've had hands-on healing day in and day out while you've been here. How many of you also do that for yourself? Just that quality of touch, that nurturing touch. That's what this book offers you. It's a meditative, hands-on guide. I narrated the audiobook itself as well. But just take everything that you're learning from maybe your favorite massage therapist or somebody that extended a quality of touch that really opened you up, that really helped you feel good in the skin you're in, and start to do that for yourself. And like we said, 15 to 30 seconds of this to practice wherever it is. Listen to your body. Wherever it calls you, everywhere is your diary. So you're reading your own diary, just like all these people helped you to heal and to flower. So it's really important to do this for yourself. And let's say up to about 14 days, if you do a little of this every day for a few seconds, a couple times a day, and then you mentally rehearse this in your mind, you're going to have a whole different quality of experience that is really quite unbelievable.
So what do you think? We can try that, right? I think that sounds great. So first of all, we love Natalie Geld here with us tonight. She brought with her book, Sensual Intelligence. I read the book to cover, and it's quite interesting, and definitely a whole other, more intensive talk about how to be a sensual person and be able to take this home with you. This is a hard subject. This is one of the hardest interviews we had. And it's not exactly my beekeepers and my pearl divers. But I found this particular subject tonight really interesting because there's a lot of conversations going on about consciousness. And are we really listening to ourselves? And are we meditating? And are we getting caught in all of this sort of noise that really hurts our health? And I think that if we can take that noise and tone it down a bit, even when we leave, I think that's going to be a good thing, even just a tiny bit. So I encourage you to sit for a few minutes and talk to Natalie after we leave, after we end, and hear what she has to say, because she has even more to say when you talk about her book. It's quite interesting. And thank you all for sharing with us our Friday night speaker series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.